Gary Morgan. I'm not originally from around here. My wife and I, we came from Southern California. And Dad has asked me to come up here and share some of my life experiences with you and what it's done, what God has done for me amidst all the strife, all the negativity, and all the things that have happened in my life. So, trying to cram 34 years worth of junk into about 5 minutes here. I'm not sure I can do it, but I'll try to give you guys the gist of everything. I was born to two parents who were drug addicts and alcoholics. Shortly after my younger brother was born, they split up. In the ensuing divorce fight, my mother won custody of us, and a few days later she dropped us off on my dad's front porch while he was at work in nothing but our diapers, and took off to Arizona to bail her boyfriend out of jail. So, with all these things, I see God has watched out for me. So beyond that, I grew up with mostly with my dad. My mom would pop in and out of the picture when she was sober. My dad, while he was a good dad, was not without his shortcomings. Of course, he was a drug addict and an alcoholic. So he tended to be very verbally abusive toward us and occasionally physically abusive. But there were good times too. He would take us fishing and camping and things like that. And as my dad was a truck driver by profession. So as a result of that, we were left in the care of babysitters a lot. And as a young, I don't remember how old I was. I might have been the age of my oldest son, who's now 7. I was sexually abused by a babysitter. So that caused a lot of confusion and turmoil in my life as a young kid. Why did this woman do this to me? I didn't understand what it was. I didn't really know how to deal with it, so I didn't talk about it. I just shut up. Growing up a little bit further, I got into my teenage years and I began to experiment with alcohol. Not experiment, I pretty much just went full bore into it. And my dad always had alcohol in the house, so it wasn't hard for me to get. And that became a pastime of mine to just kind of forget at least for a little while. And that's the thing about alcohol, you forget for a little bit, but then you sober up and the memory comes right back. So it becomes like a vicious cycle, you just keep going. So as a teenager, I spent a lot of time drunk trying to forget some of the stuff that happened when I grew up. About my sophomore year in high school, I met the son of a pastor of a local church that my grandparents attended. His name was Derek Taylor, and he invited me to youth group. I began attending youth group, I think I was about 15 or so, and everybody was just so cool. It was totally alien to me the way these people treated each other. They didn't holler or cuss at each other. They didn't fight with each other or anything like that. It was a very loving and peaceful environment. And I began to become a regular attendee of this youth group. And one night he asked me if I knew the Lord. I said no. So he took me to the bathroom and I prayed the sinner's prayer and I accepted Jesus into my heart. And for the next 2 years, I was a solid Christian guy. I was serving the Lord. I was attending church. I played guitar in the worship band or bass, depending on what they wanted me to do. I was helping at the church work days that we have. Made a lot of great friends there. And then came my senior year, like we all have to do, I had to make a decision what I was going to do with my life. And given my grades, I was not going to get accepted to any major college that I would choose to attend. So I made the choice to follow my dad's route and join the Marine Corps. I left for boot camp in October of 2000. My first couple of years in the Marine Corps were typical of an 18 to 19-year-old. I kind of started, I was stationed in Camp Pendleton while living in Southern California, so I was able to go home every weekend. So I still got to come home and see my friends, and I went to the church, but I wasn't really worshiping. I was just there to basically hang out with my friends and pick up girls. And I kind of fell out of the worship thing. I was there, but I wasn't there. As a result of that, I started going back into partying and drinking. I was in 29 Palms when 9/11 happened. And I knew then that things were going to be a little bit different. The following year, I deployed on my first deployment. And I spent 6 months on a naval vessel touring the Western Pacific and the Middle East. I went to places like Hawaii, Singapore, Jordan, Bahrain, Australia, Guam, East Timor. I've been all over that area of the world. Seen a lot of really cool things, but because I was so far away from my hometown, and I was so far away from my home church, I took the opportunity to stray. And I spent a lot of time drinking. And while I'm not proud to admit this, I did visit houses that filled with cute while I was over there. I was a carouser. That was my thing. I was partying with all my buddies, and that was what we're supposed to be doing. You know, we're young and invincible. And we left in June 2002, came back in December 2002. Early 2003 was when the Iraq War began things kind of started to heat up over there. I got sent over there in February of 2003, and on March 19th, we invaded. That is kind of the turning point for me where I just fully walked away from God. I had delusions of grandeur when I was there to begin with. You know, it's war, we're in heroes, you know, invincible, and I learned very quickly that we weren't. And this is, I don't want to talk about this. A good friend of mine was killed in action within our first week and a half there. And that really, really kind of woke me up. Realized, no, I'm not invincible. I'm not Superman. I'm not, none of us are. This guy was 19 years old. He had a wife and a 16-month-old boy. Here I am single. I didn't really go home to other family. I had some friends. This guy had a wife and kid. So I began to deal with survivor's guilt. Later on in that deployment, I did something I never thought I would have to do and hope that I never have to do again. But, I was mixed up in my first firefight, and a man lost his life and I took it. And as the days went on, it became more of a normal thing. You know, we'd get attacked, we'd shoot back. They would try to kill us, we'd kill them, and it became a daily event. It was almost daily. And anyway, what I'm trying to say is I became numb to it. I stopped feeling it. I just did it. Just another face was all it was. When we came home, summer of 2003, we only lost one Marine on that deployment. So it wasn't too bad, but it wasn't too good at the same time. I thought that I was the same. I drank a lot more, but I didn't think anything of it. My family would tell me I was different. My friends would tell me I was different. I didn't believe them. I'm still me. Now, granted, I had to go through some junk and do some things and see some things that, in my opinion, no human being should ever have to see, but I was still me. And I got to thinking about this. You know, how could God that's so loving, so caring, you know, who gives his only begotten Son for people that he loved, how could he allow this to happen? How could he allow these young men and women on both sides? You know, I mean, there's guys over there that we killed, I'm sure, just like me. Had family, had friends, had things that they like to do. Probably, potentially like the same music. Of course, I like jazz. Nobody likes the same music I do, but it's possible. I started thinking, how can God, that's so loving, or supposed to be so loving, allow this to happen? Allow this junk that it took people away from their families, in some cases permanently, very violently. If you've never seen it, I hope to God you never do. So I walked away. I was done with God. I didn't have anything to do with it. Early 2004, went back over there again. And I was there for 2 months before I got hurt. And I got sent home. And it was about then that things got real bad for us. We buried 9 Marines that day. And these worked. These weren't just friends. These are guys that had been to their houses, had dinner. I hung out with them. I lived with them. And they're gone. They were gosh. IEDs, they tore us up. Very violent when they died. And having to deal with the aftermath. Just got battered God. Jorge Molina Bautista. Excuse me. Jorge Molina Bautista. Very good friend of mine. One of my leaders was killed in an IED attack. Had his head pretty much taken off. I had to do his funeral. So me and my friends were there in our dress blues, and it was something that I'll never forget. They had to reconstruct him because the family wanted to know what he was dead. His son, I don't know how he did it. I sit up here talking about it. I can't keep from church about it. But his son was 10 years old, gave his dad Gucci. And you had a bunch of grown Marines in our dress blues folding the flag. I was on the rifle details. We were doing it from home to salute. And we're all holding our hands out. This kid was so stoic. I'll never forget it. And I got to thinking, this was just wrong. How could God let this happen? So I just stayed mad. I quit going to church. I didn't even show up to hang out with my friends anymore. If they wanted to find me, they could come to the bar. I was playing a small jazz quartet at the time, and we would play bars and things like that. That was my hangout. I spent a lot more time drunk trying to forget these things. You guys can understand why it's not a good thing to think about. So I stayed drunk. I drank a lot. And I had the opportunity to re-enlist in the Marine Corps, and I decided to get out because I had enough. I didn't like watching my parents die. I didn't like to why I had to go over there. I was angry with my government. I was angry with God. I was angry with myself. And I just wanted to move on. So I took a job at a Marine base down in Barstow, California, where I took on work as a mechanic there. And we worked right next to a company called Brubaker Mann, which is a big gravel rock company. Well, part of the operations there, of course, is blasting. So here you got this war vet trying to work, and these guys are just over the hill from us, and they're blasting the crap out of stuff, trying to get all this rock. So every 5 minutes, I'm jumping out of my shoes, and I'm a nervous wreck. And you're not supposed to drink on the job, but I did. Because it was the only thing that would calm my nerves, it was the only thing that would keep me functioning. So we had this little bar called Desert Springs that we would go to every day on lunch, and it became a contest to see who could drink the most beers before we went back. And I won quite a bit. And that was how I functioned for several years. Just wanted to numb the pain, take the edge off, not think about it, not deal with it. I didn't want anything to do with me. So I figured as long as I was able to stay drunk, I was happy. And late 2004, early 2005, I began, late 2004, it was 2005. She's got a memory, I don't. We began dating, and about a year or so later, I got this crazy idea that we should get married. So we did. And she came to live with me after we got married, and she started to see what was going on with me. So after some nights of punching her in my sleep and things like that, and a whole lot of drinking, there came a breaking point one day where I had drank an 18-pack of beer and then drove to the store to buy a 36-pack, which is dangerous. And I spent the rest of the day drinking. Now she came home from work that night and said, "That's it." She gave me the ultimatum. The ultimatum. Said, "If you get help or I'm gone." So we scheduled help for me to go to the VA. And I went to the VA. And I figured out that there was something wrong with me. I didn't think there was anything wrong with me at the time. I thought I pretty much had it figured out. I learned that I was suffering from something that everybody's probably heard of. It's called post-traumatic stress disorder. I had nightmares, reliving things in my sleep. I had triggers, loud noises, crowds, things like that that get me antsy. I had anger issues, temper issues. I would get mad at work and throw tools because things didn't go right. So I went to help. And they gave me a book to read that I never read, called Courage After Fire. And, I take that back. I began to read it, and the VA wanted me to go to support groups. All these support groups wanted to do was sit around and talk. I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to deal with it. So, my wife decided that we should start going to church. And so I did. Begrudgingly at first, because it interfered with my party lifestyle. But we went. And as I got back into church and I started studying, reading the Bible, going to Bible studies, we began attending her uncle's church in Barstow, California. Her uncle's a pastor of it. And I really began to fellowship with God again. And all these things that I was so angry with God over time God revealed to me. He slapped me upside the head and said, "Why are you mad at me over the choices of men?" I learned that God gives us choice. He gives us free will. And of my own free will, I ignored what God would have for me to do. And I ignored God and I was mad at him. And then after realizing that, of my own free will, I came back to the Lord and I got baptized. And I began really, really working in the church. We played, my wife and I, we did the music down there. I don't know what all we did down there, but we were constantly at the church working. And the more I was there, the more I fell in love with God, and the more I realized that this verse that I had heard when I became a Christian the first time as a teenager, Jeremiah 29:11, where God says, "For I know the thoughts I have toward you, thoughts to help you, not to hurt you." And I'm going to paraphrase because I'm not really good at remembering things exactly. But he says, "I have plans for you, plans to help you, not to hurt you, plans to give you hope in the future." All this stuff that I had gone through, was as a result of choices. People chose to abuse me. People chose to neglect me, leave me. And as a result of that, I chose to do the same to God. And back to where I was, I got baptized and started working in the church, really, really getting on fire for God. I began teaching Teen Sunday School. And I figured out what God had for me. His plan for me was to use my experiences to help people with theirs. Because if there's anybody that's action-packed with issues, it's this guy. I guarantee it. I've got problems. Oh, Lord, do I have problems? But God has allowed me this mindset now. He's opened my eyes and opened my heart and helped me to realize that I have tools that I can use to help other people. And so I'm in church serving, and I'm in church working, and I'm trying to help. I teach Sunday school. I take over the pulpit for Pastor Dan when he's gone. And, I want to serve God. I'm trying my best to make up for the years that I've walked away from. And I know God has forgiven me. He doesn't hold that against me. I got the blood of Christ covering that. But I'm still working. I'm still trying. And if there's one thing, if you're not a Christian and you're in this room, if you ever think you're not good enough, if you ever think you're too damaged, you're wrong. The beauty of God is that every saint has a past and every sinner has a future. So, if you don't know God, get to know Him. I guarantee it's worth it.
Amen.